Oh wow, an M2. I wonder what transmission it has. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and today we've got one of my all-time favorites, the BMW M2. Now this really summarizes what BMW's M brand used to be. Now all of the M cars are heavy, cumbersome to drive, super overpowered, steering is totally lifeless, braking feel isn't there. This is the last M car you can buy that's at least somewhat engaging to drive on the road. Now I'm not saying the new M cars aren't good. The M5 is incredibly fast, the M8 drop dead gorgeous, but they don't really possess much driving characteristic and much feedback and communication between you and the car. M2, not the case. I love driving this car around, so we're going to take it out for a little review and I'm going to show you why. First of all, starting in the back here, it's plenty practical. Got lots of room, a little bit less trunk space than a Mustang or a Camaro. Actually, probably a bit more than the Camaro. Very usable though. Underneath here, got your battery for that weight distribution. I also like having a net back here, keep things from sloshing around. I do think it's kind of silly that now they have the M2 competition, but no standard M2. So it's like, why do you need the competition designation if there's no non-competition? But whatever, BMW's been silly lately. Good pillarless coupe doors. Check out these nice seats. Cool blue stitching. They hug you in well. They're comfortable. Another thing I appreciate about the 2 Series in general, there's actually livable space back here. You can get in the back. You've even got latch anchors for car seats. But at 5'10" and the seat's set for my height, my head is just barely touching the ceiling. If I sit straight up, it's really pushing into there. But I have a little armrest. The seat back recline isn't awful the way it might be in a Mustang or a Camaro, and drivers and passengers can be comfortable with adults in the back, can comfortably seat 4 adults. That cannot be said of a lot of other kind of 2+2-y coupes in this segment. Whoa, still not the easiest to get out of though. Now for those of you who don't know, the M2 was graced with the M3 and M4's engine a few years ago when it got its competition designation, and that was really all this car needed to perfect it. The previous up-tuned M240i engine just didn't have quite as much character and raw power as this motor does. Up front, it's starting to show a little bit of its age, just not really quite as many features. I mean, you don't even have adaptive cruise control. This layout's just looking a little bit dated, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Some of the sounds this car makes are just incredible. Later on, I'll stop and give you some rev clips. It sounds really, really mean. My only complaint is that we're dealing with the dual clutch automatic transmission, and that's not a complaint in and of the transmission itself. It's almost a compliment. It's very, very good. Very smooth, very quick, easy to drive around, but it takes away from some of the characteristics of this car. The steering is one of the biggest complaints of the M2. It's not very communicative, feels dull. And when you've got the manual transmission, that's just another way for the vehicle to communicate with you and for you to communicate with it. You kind of feel like you're having a conversation with the vehicle, shifting through the gears, telling the car what you'd like to do, and the car responding. And with the automatic, the dual clutch just kind of does all of it for you. You put your foot down and away you go. Now, if I were tracking this car regularly, yeah, this dual clutch would be perfect for that. But I'm not. I'm just driving it around the city. I'm just driving it on pedestrian roads, and for that case, I would love to be rowing my own. And I've driven multiple BMW M2s with a manual transmission, and they really were some of my favorite cars ever. Got a few different drive modes in the M2. You've got Efficient, Sport, and Sport Plus for the powertrain, and then 3 different shift aggressions, if you will. There's kind of a mild shift, moderate, and then aggressive, hold to revs, everything like that. This does not have the adaptive suspension. so I can't change suspension settings, which I'm fine with. This is very good, compliant tuning level. Everything just kind of works with the suspension. It's not too harsh, and it's not too soft. A lot of cars we get in with drive modes these days, I either like to have it on all the way soft, just benign, or all the way hardcore, like race mode and comfort mode. Those are the only two that matter. The M2 is one of the few cars where I actually find myself striking a middle balance. I like to be in sport with the moderate shift settings. Kind of holds gears the way I might if I were driving this car manual mode, and provides some sort of liveliness to the powertrain, but still keeps the engine stop-start and still feels like it's not constantly champing at the bit to keep going faster. Full hardcore mode now, Sport Plus, aggressive shifting. Let's even take traction control into sport mode. I know I criticize BMW for their steering and sometimes their braking feel as well, but my goodness, do they do good powertrains. I love their transmissions and I love their engines in all of their cars, either the performance cars all the way down to just your standard, like an X1. They're efficient and powerful and so butter smooth. Smoky. Going over this rough pavement, no problem. The ride is not harsh. They really improved that with the competition model. Transmission aside, I still do really love this car. Pilot Super Sports are a really good choice for driving feel. Do a 60-0 braking test. At highway speeds, M2 is perfectly amicable. It's not the quietest. This also isn't the quietest section of highway. It's really not too bad considering the performance aspects of this vehicle. You do feel a little bit of jostling around. The suspension's firm, it's just not harsh. And listen to this exhaust. I mean, those sounds. That's so cool. Oh, man. Kind of coming up a little short on stuff to talk about with the M2. It's just a good, solid car. Despite its flaws, despite its poor steering and vague brakes, it's just a really good, fun car to throw around. And I like the 2 Series in general. I would even just take a 230i manual base car, get to throw that thing around, some skinny tires, tune it up a little bit, be great. I really like the gauge cluster. I think it looks sharp. I do appreciate that there's a big old digital speedo down there, but other than that, nice, good, classic BMW gauges. Infotainment system, a little bit dated, but it works well. 405 horsepower in this little thing. Plenty good with that. Backup camera, it's there. It works. Now this is kind of weird. There's no park selection with the BMW dual clutch. You just leave it in drive and then turn the car off, and you can see there's a little P there, and you hear park gear going into place. Such a sharp, well-executed car. Despite its few flaws, I'm really appreciative it exists. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to see more on the M2, check out the link in the description to our Harman Kardon audio system review. Hit that subscribe button, like, check out all of our other videos, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.